Have you ever wondered why some relationships seem to vanish, even when they are still technically alive? In philosophy, we are reminded that absence is not annihilation. When a relationship is severed, it does not simply disappear, it continues to operate, silently, in unseen ways. Today I want to explore a delicate and often misunderstood dynamic. A childless marriage entangled in years of estrangement from in-laws. Consider three perspectives: the couple who clings to the hope that our marriage is still intact, the spouse, who bears the burden alone, and the daughter-in-law, who believes she is protecting herself through separation. We often call such estrangement freedom, but philosophy asks, does true freedom arise from cutting ties, or from cultivating the inner strength to sustain them? This is not a story of right or wrong. It is, instead, an exploration of how the absence of children, coupled with in-law estrangement, quietly erodes the marital bond, and in some cases, leads inexorably to divorce. Let's begin with the childless couple. Outwardly, their marriage may seem light, autonomous, even free, yet psychologically, it is among the most fragile of structures. Children are not merely family members, they are the anchors that impose three essential pressures on a marriage. 1. Continuity. The relationship must persist through daily responsibilities. 2. Deferred conflict. The practical necessity of managing disagreements tempers impulsive reactions. Time-bound. Action decisions must be made with foresight, beyond fleeting emotions. Without children, these anchors vanish. Relationships become optional rather than obligatory, open to termination at any moment. Now, consider the extreme daughter-in-law who severs ties with her in-laws. This is not a matter of personality alone. Psychologically, these individuals often share a distinct inner structure. They perceive relationships as control rather than negotiation. Discomfort is addressed by blocking rather than adjusting. Conflict triggers the conclusion, this relationship is flawed. In this framework, in-laws are no longer simply difficult. Others, they are perceived as intruders threatening one's life. And crucially, this perception extends to the spouse. What begins as, I need distance from your parents, gradually evolves into accusations. Why are you always on their side? Aren't you ultimately one of them? The spouse, once a partner, is reclassified psychologically as a potential adversary. The marital dyad transforms into a binary struggle, me versus you. In childless marriages, extreme estrangement accelerates the path to divorce. The usual psychological breaks vanish. No guilt for harming children. No societal pressure to endure. No irreversible investment of time or commitment. Divorce, then, ceases to be a last resort and becomes a solution, a means of reclaiming control, rather than experiencing defeat. Inside the mind of such a daughter-in-law, the inner monologue is consistent. This marriage does not protect me. Within this structure, I will continue to be hurt. I must sever ties to survive. Importantly, this conclusion is not necessarily rational. It is a psychological imperative. Divorce in this context is not failure. It is the culmination of a survival strategy. In other words, divorce is the result, not the cause. The trajectory is rarely sudden. Over time, estrangement from in-laws generates the belief that cutting ties ensures safety, an internal system unable to negotiate conflict, a learned perception that intimacy equals threat. All of these forces converge quietly, inevitably, toward divorce. But what about the spouse who remains, often to the bitter end? Here lies a paradox. It is the very endurance of one partner that prolongs and deepens the attachment, even when the relationship is structurally fragile. Today I ask, why does the spouse cling so tenaciously and when is stepping away the choice that ensures survival. Understanding these dynamics allows us to see that childless marriages and in-law estrangements are not merely matters of personalities clashing. They are a study in structural vulnerability, psychological defense, and the silent, inexorable logic that drives human survival within intimate relationships. If this reflection resonates with you, share it with others who face similar dilemmas and subscribe to explore more insights into the invisible architecture of human relationships. In our last discussion, we explored how childless marriages, entangled in estrangement from in-laws, quietly push couples toward divorce. We saw that cutting ties with parents doesn't erase relationships, it shifts their dynamics, often transforming intimacy into confrontation. But what about the spouse who stays? Why do some men endure even when the marital structure becomes psychologically corrosive? The answer lies in three intertwined forces. The first reason is the illusion of control. I can fix this. Many sons in these dynamics are responsible, loyal, and unwilling to abandon relationships. They adopt an internal formula. If I understand more, things will improve. If I change just a little, we can be okay. If I mediate effectively, the conflict will resolve. Yet this is not maturity. It is a fundamental misreading of the structure. Extreme estrangement is not softened by the spouse's change. It is reinforced by the other party's concessions. Control, not compromise, becomes the mechanism. The second reason is the conflict-averse spouse's internal wiring. These individuals prioritize harmony over confrontation. Their repeated pattern is familiar. Advise patience to parents. Apologize to the spouse. Tell themselves, I must endure a little longer. The spouse, once a partner, becomes a buffer. Conflicts do not vanish. They accumulate silently on the psychological foundation of the enduring partner. The third reason is guilt and moral obligation. Many spouses perceive leaving as a moral failure. Am I a bad husband? Am I abandoning my parents? Am I failing to honor my responsibilities? But endurance is not always a virtue. Sometimes it is simply a choice that glorifies self-destruction. Survival requires recognizing this distinction. So how does this structure erode a spouse? Over time, the enduring partner may experience 1. Loss of self-trust. 2. Detachment from any allegiance. No one side feels safe. 3. A sense of ultimate isolation. Externally calm, yet internally, the foundations of identity begin to crumble. What was once love becomes a competition for survival. When is stepping away the correct choice? 3 signals indicate that a relationship has moved beyond negotiation. 1. Every attempt at mediation ends with, "You're wrong," regardless of explanation or concession. 2. The spouse's social world, friends, parents, networks, is entirely restricted, leaving only one controlling relationship. 3. The natural desire to live authentically evokes guilt. A relationship where being oneself feels sinful is no longer healthy. Exiting is not defeat. It is preservation. Divorce in this context is not moral failure. It is a conscious act of survival, and sometimes the only way to protect one's life trajectory. Relationships are sustained not by the collapse of one person, but by the vitality of both. Peace built on silence and sacrifice is fragile. It may only postpone inevitable breakdown. In summary, enduring to the bitter end does not guarantee maturity. Choosing to leave does not equal failure. The first priority is self-preservation. Divorce is rarely an abrupt decision. In childless marriages, estrangement from in-laws gradually removes the buffers that support the relationship, reclassifies the spouse from partner to adversary, and ultimately leads to the quiet conclusion: survival requires separation. But our inquiry doesn't stop here. Why do some individuals refuse to confront the relationship directly, always drawing in third parties? distorting the very structure they inhabit. In the next video, Part 9, we will examine the triangular dynamics at the heart of in-law estrangement, why they repeat, and how the husband, positioned within this triangle, becomes psychologically exhausted. Relationships cannot thrive on the collapse of a single individual. A peace maintained through silence and sacrifice prepares only for a greater breakdown. I hope today's reflection provides a framework for reconsidering your own relationships. If it resonates, please share this video and subscribe so we can explore the next part together.